Dutch went back to the Netherlands, and they kept on going and forming their own country. So yeah, I understand Dutch. I could speak Dutch now. Luckily, I have a Dutch roommate, so me and him are best friends, and we can communicate fluently. So yeah.
Okay. Are you a fan of is it Die Antwoord? Is that the name of the band from
Oh, the
Die
Antwoord?
Die Antwoord?
Actually, not at all.
No. Yeah, I never got into it either.
No, they're a bit too wild for my liking, bro.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so I mean real quick, I know we're live, but I'll give you a little rundown. Jimmy and I are athletes. We competed in college. I was a cross country and track runner. I run ultra marathons. Jimmy wrestled, and we just feel like there's so many different schools and universities out there for opportunities for kids that want to compete at the next level, be it from a United States high school perspective or from an international perspective. And we're just trying to get the word out about all the different schools. And if you can run fast or jump high or throw far and have the work ethic and the ability to get it done in the classroom and want to get it done on the track, there's a place for you, and it might be maybe off the beaten path or something that was never on your radar. But Jimmy and I, is our mission is to find those schools and to present those to people so they can so we can spread the word.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I love that.
Cool. All right, y'all, we are back on the track tonight. We are joined by another friend from the University of the Cumberlands. You recall Coach Bradley Souter joined us, uh, indoor and outdoor coach of the year. And then also the athletic director, Chris Kraftik, joined us over the summer. And now we are joined by one of the athletes. He also manages the social media for the Patriots track and field team. He is a podcast host like Jimmy and I, host the Bible Bro. What is it?
Bro's
Bros
gone
Gone
Bible.
Bible. I'm sorry, Bros Gone Bible. And he's also a USAT level one coach. So we are excited and ready to rock and roll with Eddie Van Week. Was I
There you
close?
go. Yeah, that's close enough, bro. I'll let it slide.
Okay. All right.
That's awesome, bro, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, we're super excited to chat with you tonight, Eddie. Like I said, we probably want to get into your journey because you are, as we were chatting right when we logged on here, from South Africa, and it's always interesting to me when athletes from other countries find themselves in very interesting places or obscure places, and maybe places in the United States that probably people in the United States don't even know exist. So
Exactly.
maybe, I guess, well, first of all, before we get started, why don't you give your socials or the school's socials, the team socials, anywhere you want people to find you or find the Patriots. Before we even get into it, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for having me on. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Edwin van Wyk. I am currently 23 years old, originally from South Africa, born and raised until I was 20 years old, until I had the opportunity to come to the US on a scholarship to run track and field. I'm a sprinter, 100 and 200-meter sprinter or specialist, if you want to call it like that. On the sideline, I grew up loving social media, and I got into social media and got myself into a creator's position, what they call it these days. Back those days when I was still 16, 17, they called it influencers. Right now they call us creators. So right now I'm still a creator, love for graphic design, love for video editing and all that type of stuff. You guys can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, at Eddie Van Wyk. So that would be EDDIE VWYK. And if you guys want to find out the school that I'm currently representing, University of the Cumberlands, you can find us at UC Patriots XCTF for our track and field page. And that is where all the results and all the graphics go out for the school's track and field and all of our performances.
So Eddie, you mentioned coming here when you were 20 on a track scholarship. I believe the first school you started at was Lindsey Wilson.
There you
How
go.
did running in the United States kind of come on your radar?
Bro, that's a crazy story in itself, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell actually. So back home, grew up very wealthy in South Africa. So South Africa is I would say you either get the rich of the rich or the poor of the poor, unfortunately. And I had the big opportunity to be able to grow up very w wealthy until my parents ended up getting divorced at young teenage years of about 13 to 14 years old. Um, Ended up living in a townhouse apartment. We lost everything with I ended up living in a townhouse apartment with me, my mom, and my sister for the rest of my high school years in South Africa. I finished high school at the age of 18 years old in South Africa. And after finishing high school, it was 2019. Just COVID happened 2020, right? So 2019, I finished high school. It's end of the year because our schools back home run from January to December, unlike in the United States where they run from August, September until May, right? So finish high school, and now it's time to go study, go into a university. And we didn't have the finances to send me to go study in South Africa back home. Yet I knew I had the talent to run. I was running and playing rugby a majority of my high school career back home because rugby is one of the biggest sports back home. We're Rugby World Cup champions, four-time Rugby World Cup champions. That is something I stand proud on. And so back home, you either, if you're born, you either born with a rugby ball in your arms or a soccer ball because those are the two biggest sports back home. And I decided to start running. Started running at the age of about 12, took it serious, and it got me far. And I always know I wanted to step foot on an international soil to be able to achieve my dreams. And some of my friends had the opportunity to come to the US to come and study and to come and work right after high school. And I always admired it. I was like, wow, that must be amazing to be able to leave your country and go work or go study in a different country, right? And right before COVID hit, those friends returned back home, and I got the opportunity to connect with them and sit down with them. And they told me about just how amazing, how wonderful it is, and how big this world is, and that we should explore it. And those desires in my heart were always so big to travel across the broad and go see what the other side of the world looks like. And I know we didn't have the finances for anything because it just looked impossible for me right now or at that stage. And so in South Africa, to be able to come to the US, one of the best ways to do it is to sign with an agency, a talent agency. So what they do is they recruit athletes, they sign them, and then what they do is they contact coaches in the US and they present your portfolio to them and tell them, hey, listen, this athlete is this type of caliber athlete at X, Y, and Z. This is their times. This is their academic performances. Are you open to be able to give this kid a scholarship? Yes or no? So these agents then reach out to the US coaches and they get back to you. And my agent back then, he ended up getting me a few offers from three different schools in the US, and one of them was Lindsey Wilson College. And by the grace of God, I came on to a full ride scholarship in the US, not having to pay a single cent to be able to go to university in the US. All that we had to cover was my flight tickets. And that is a miracle on its own to be able to tell, and still to this day telling it. I get emotional telling it because just seeing how God provides for me in situations in my life where you think we don't have the finances, I can't go study, I don't know what I'm gonna do. All of a sudden, we sign up with this agency, they get me this offer, and 2, 3 months later, I'm on my way to the US on a full ride scholarship to go and study and run and pursue my dreams. So long story short, that's how I ended up in the US.
Did you go to Lindsey Wilson's sight unseen?
Sight unseen?
Like, did you come and visit first, or did you just go?
No, like we didn't remember it's very expensive flights these days. So
Yeah.
I mean, you do all the type of research you can. Like you watch YouTube videos, you follow people on Instagram, you start DMing them like, yo, bro, like what's the school like? What's the food like? What's the classes like? And other than that, I didn't really, you know, I just knew I had a full ride scholarship and I just knew I wanted to study in the US. So for me, my argumentation was more like, you know what? take it, bro. Take the flight, go see what happens. If you don't like it, you come back. So no visits, nothing. Blind eye, greet my mom, greet my parents, greet everyone, tears everywhere, and didn't return until 9 months later for the first time back home.
And your
And
friends that were traveling before COVID that were over here, had any of them been to Kentucky or anything like that?
One of them
Yeah.
has been to Kentucky, but none of them before, no.
Okay.
so what were your thoughts on Kentucky? How was that first year at Lindsey Wilson, and what made that transition over to Cumberland's?
Absolute great experience. At first, it just there was my first time or second time at least going out of the country, international, from South Africa. Um, so much different. You come into the US and you think it's like in the movies, like exactly. Like you watch movies in South Africa and you're like, no way, this stuff is real, man. You get here, you arrive here, like exactly, bro, exactly like the movies. Get into all these big cities and very inspiring. I think like my first time I flew into the US, I flew into Newark, New Jersey airport, right? It's close to where
Mhm.
you guys are at, right?
Yeah.
And I flew in there and I remember right across the ocean you see the New York skyline and you see the Statue of Liberty and stuff like that. I start freaking out, bro, because it's like this is my dream. I don't take stuff like that for granted. And arrive in Kentucky, quite big city, Louisville. So I flew into Louisville and coach picks me up from the airport, drive 2 hours to Lindsey Wilson to Columbia, Kentucky. And obviously a very big culture shock at first. Because I mean, back home I come from Pretoria, which is close to Johannesburg. You guys will pretty much know of Johannesburg.
Mhm.
It's like about 45 minutes away. And I mean, I'm a city boy, out and out, millions of people around you, tall buildings, businesses everywhere, people, high schools. It's busy, it's packed. I mean, I go to Columbia, Kentucky, population of not even maybe 10,000 people. So all of a sudden it's rural. It's like cowboys, it's green fields, grasses, it's horses, it's cows, it's humid, it's hot, but loving every moment on it. After the years as I gone by and as you progress month through month, it grew on me, to be honest. And right now, one thing that I always tease people about or tell people is that country grew on me. It reminds me of somewhat back home, like the country scene, because we love wildlife back home in South Africa. South Africa is very popular for its wildlife. And here in Kentucky, the people here also they love the countryside and the heat that comes with it. So I know a couple of country songs right now. I listen to some Morgan Wallen and some,
Mhm.
Luke Bryan and all these kind of guys. I have my own little country playlist on my phone. And after the years as we grew on, it definitely grew on me. Not too long ago. Well, if you fast forward in time, 2 years after I spent at Lindsey Wilson, running 2 years, absolutely so much experience gained there. But I knew walking in that this is not going to be the place that I'm going to settle for. Um, my dreams are always bigger. I'm always looking for places to grow. Um, and nevertheless, that I know it would only be 2 hours down the road because that's exactly where Cumberland's is at, two hours down south from Columbia, Kentucky. You land in Williamsburg, Kentucky, the Burg, where I'm at right now. And I made the transition to the Cumberlands based off of, well, obviously the coach, because Coach Souter, his name was busy going all over the NAI and what they're busy doing in this program. Second of all, there's a very, very good friend, my podcast host from Bros Gone Bible, Miguel, and he was here. And I got talking with him, and he told me, "Listen, bro, you want to be part of this? Once you get here, you'll have your community will take care of you. You have a church where you can go to because my faith is very important to me. So I knew I was plugged in a community, and then on top of that, like I knew this program was going to grow, and I want to be close to people that I grow with. There's that cliche quote that says you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Mhm.
It's that exact thing, bro. If I'm gonna grow being here, why won't I do it? And Coach Souter, me and him hopped on a call. He offered me the exact same scholarship that I had at Lindsey Wilson. And other than that, the rest is history. Two national titles later. Not me running though, but me being part of it, um, was an absolute blessing. It comes at a price, of course, because unfortunately, one thing I don't know if you guys would know this, but I had to face a 1 year ban transferring from Lindsey Wilson to Cumberland's University because of a conference transfer rule. So if you transfer inside of the conference, the rule states that you're up for a 365-day ban unless your athletic director signs off on it, and they didn't sign off on me, which I appreciate from Coach Sauter's part because he took a bet on me. It was like a long-term investment. And last year I couldn't be part of the team, but you know what? I served the team in every single aspect that I could. I told Coach Sauter, listen, I'll do the social media. You don't have to pay me. This is one of my jobs. This is one thing I love. I love creating content. I'll do this for you. I'll take it off your plate, give it to me. Other than that, when we go to meets, I'll carry the water, I'll carry the food, I'll make sure everyone has eaten, I'll make sure everyone has a place to sleep. And he took me around everywhere. Such a blessing, bro.
That's pretty epic journey you've got there. I love the story, and I always try to tell people it's a big world too. Go out and see it. So I love that aspect of it. Curious, can you, when we talk to Coach Souter, he's got a ton of energy and it's infectious. What is it like getting to work with him on a day-to-day basis? Is he on 24/7?
24/7. You won't catch him lacking one single bit. Working with Coach Sauter is an absolute pleasure. The day I met him in person, I knew it was like an instant click. Some personalities just work together and others clash, unfortunately. And he was one of the guys that when I met him, first introduction, it was like we immediately clicked. And it was just like it's a go-getter attitude. Coach Sauter is that typical person as he comes forth to be. He's a go-getter, always high energy. He wears his emotions on his sleeves. You can see when he's excited. You can see when he's irritated. And I mean, as he said on here, it's not like he loves winning. Yes, he loves winning, but he hates losing even more. And it's like I don't know sometimes how he does it. Like it's just a internal energy in every day that it's a wake up and we run at it every single day. It's an absolute pleasure.
Those cappuccinos.
Oh yeah. 25 three a day, man. Three a day. Three a day.
You
It's actually
mentioned
one
his.
of our favorite things to do at a track meet. Sorry, Jimmy. It's one
You're
of our
good.
favorite things to do at a track meet is that whenever we drive somewhere, it's like he has the Starbucks app, right? So you can see where's the closest Starbucks or whatever. But as we travel, like sometimes we're gonna stop for coffee, and like if you don't hop out, like you're missing out. So every time we stop at a track meet, like he'll look at me like, yeah, you want a cappuccino? I'm like, hell yeah, we're getting a cappuccino right now.
That's
So
awesome.
you mentioned his energy being infectious, and I know you do the social media, and we want to pick your brain on that. But one thing that we loved last year when we found you guys and we found Coach Shouter was the mic'd up you did with him, where you put the mic on him at the track meet. Being a
Yeah.
social media minded type of person, when you met him and you realized you were going to do the social media, you're like, oh, this is gold. We got to put a mic on you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've seen a bunch of these mic'd up videos on social media, and especially on the track or on the football field where a bunch of these guys they mic them up, and I thought it's such a good way of seeing, like a behind the scenes or like what's this person communicating while they're busy, on the day of a meet or on the day of a game or whatever. And I got these mics off Amazon. I'm like, dang, why didn't I think of this? We gotta mic him up. So I went around to one of our meets, and like you said, I mic'd him up, and I mean, he's exactly like that on that video. Every single track meet, like energy, sky high, all over the place, supporting everyone as much as he possibly can, and yeah, bro, loud. Everyone knows Coach Saad.
And you brought up that year ban that you had when you transferred conference to conference, and we know you did a very good job with the social media last year, even to the point where Rich and I say, man, they do a better job on their social media than a lot of the Division 1 programs. We took note of that, like even prior to knowing you did it. And Coach Souter even said to us, he said, yeah, one of my athletes, he didn't mention your name, but he says one of my athletes couldn't couldn't perform for us this year. So he said, hey, can I take over the social media? And I said to him, you're either going to be my best friend or I'm going to hate you.
Oh yeah.
And obviously you did a good job. So are you going to still be able to do it this year and compete? How's that going to work?
So this year is definitely gonna have to scale down a bit because athletics and performance is at the forefront this year. We want to make sure we qualify for nationals. We want to be in some of those teams because this year is a really, really big year for us. We got some big stuff lined up. But on the sideline, it's still my passion. It's still something that I have on my plate. And actually, through this social media voluntary position that I did for the cross country or the cross country and track and field team, I ended up getting a work study position at Cumberland's, a job at Cumberland's for social media. So I'm over all the sports at University of the Cumberlands now. So every single game, or not every single game, but most of them, I go out to the volleyball, the men's soccer, the women's soccer. I've been out for the football now. I've been out for the cross country, and I'm actually traveling with the school around to do their social media for them, and I get paid for it, which is just an absolute blessing. I would love to continue to do the track team social media for them. However, as I mentioned, it has to take a backseat this year for the most part. We are looking to see how we can bring some more kids in that has those talents to be able to film, take some pictures, take some videos, and then I'll even do the editing, or we can get someone to do the editing on the other side. But definitely, bro, guys, we appreciate the comment. You know, working with Coach Souter, you know that it's a standard quality. That's what we're looking for. He accepts the best and nothing less. And when I knew that I'm gonna be pushed by someone like that caliber and a mentor, because I genuinely do see him as a mentor in my life, someone that is so open, so welcoming, so loving, but yet such a, taste for excellence in his life. He's someone that I can go to for anything in my life. And being able to work with him and under him, um, I text him 24/7 and I'll send him the graphic. I'll be like, yo, listen, this graphic or this graphic. What do you like? What don't you like? What do I take out? What do I put in? And he'll straight up shoot me not, oh, this sucks. Or, oh yeah, this is freaking straight up. And I mean, that's how we communicate back home too. So I don't have a problem with, harsh criticism. I actually appreciate it because if we can have easy conversations and hard conversations, that's what builds good friendship. That's one thing my mom has taught me from a very young age. To be able to have a good friendship, we have to have some hard conversations. And me and Coach Sauter, we're just not afraid to have those hard conversations.
That's why Jimmy and I work so well together. We're great at having hard conversations.
You read my mind, dude.
Well, anyhow, I mean, with the band and stuff last year, were you still able to train with the team? Were you allowed to do that? And how's training going for you now? I mean, school's in session. Is the track team, is they're getting their conditioning for indoor and all that stuff? Is that going down now?
Oh yeah. So team is up and running right now. We have a big increase of guys that were recruited and then committed. So we got a lot of top dogs around now, and to be able to just to train with these guys is helping me a lot. We just got out of training a couple of hours ago. It was absolutely pouring rain today, so I had to just go change everything. Otherwise, I would have sat here in wet clothes. But last year, I had the opportunity to be part of the team in every single other aspect except from running,
Okay.
which was a big blessing. So training with them, traveling with them, team meetings, all this stuff. Even gear, Coach Sato was very generous in terms of, like gear. He hands out gear to the team. And I told him like, Coach, listen, if it's not on your radar, if it's not on the budget, it's fine. And he's like, no, please, you do so much for the program. He insisted. And I mean, that just showcases the type of person he really is. He takes care of the people around him. if you buy into the program too, because no one's bigger than the program around here. One big thing that I was able to do last year too is the rule states that even though you're not able to compete with the team, you are eligible to run unattached. So what this means is you get to enter races individually, but you race not in Cumberland's gear and you don't race under their name. And I was able to race, the rule says anything less than 20% of the season does not count as a season. So I had the opportunity to race two indoor races and two outdoor races last year, um, which was just also very good for me just to, still be able to get the opportunity to go out there and showcase my talent, see where I'm at, see where I measure up against the other guys, and just be able to keep the engine running. But this year it's a different story. I'm back on the track this year and they're gonna know this year.
So what is the story? What are the goals this year? What do you got your eyes set on? I know you said you guys are training right now, and there's a lot of big dogs on campus, and we know Coach Souter isn't slowing down. He's trying to get the triple crown. So what's the temperature like on campus? Are you having to hold you guys back? You guys competing with each other in practice right now? What's it looking like?
That is the golden question, Jimmy. That's what everyone wants to know. I cannot talk too much on here because I mean there's everyone from the NAIA watching this, you know. But temperature on campus is very, very hot. Our team is getting together very, very well. We've had a couple of team meetings where the team comes together. It just creates an awesome atmosphere, and we're really busy building culture on the team. Because through the years and as the team goes, we're creating culture, building culture, creating traditions where we welcome new people and we praise people for what they do good and how we can do better. And so our hashtag for the year is actually to hashtag become the standard, where last year it was what was it? One big team? I can't really remember. Souter knows. That's always the hashtag. Souter knows. But this year the hashtag is become the standard. So what we're looking for this year as a team is really just to become the standard as a whole. And when we say become the standard, we're referring to obviously the NAIA national qualifying standards, because we want to send as many people as we possibly can to nationals. We want to have our biggest participation at nationals as possible. If coach really has to, he'll take down two charter buses to Indiana Wesleyan or even Gainesville, Florida. That's where Indoor Nationals is at this year. Um, but not only on the track, but also academically. We want to make sure we achieve our academic goals because we're student athletes, students first. And then obviously in our lives and all other aspects, we want to make sure we're disciplined and we have a good sense of ethical values and morals. So in all other aspects of our life. But coming back to the trophies and the silverware, that is obviously what everyone is concerned about. Um, the goal is the Triple Crown. And having a look at how everything is looking and playing out at this stage, we're definitely in the running. We are in a very, very competitive place right now. We have pieces. We have all the pieces we need. Now it's just a matter of executing on what we have. Other than that, I'm just gonna try to stay humble and try to put a big smile on my face and put my head down. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to talk too much. Obviously, I'm a sprinter. You know, our sprinters have unique personalities. There's a very, very fine line between arrogance and confidence. But we definitely have a lot of pieces this year that we added to our team that we know will benefit us, come indoor season, come outdoor season, and even cross country, which is only 8 weeks away.
And as I mentioned in the beginning, I ran track in college and cross country. I was a distance runner, and so it is a very tight bond and a brotherhood and a family amongst the team. Um, and maybe to our fault, sometimes we maybe got a little bit too much competition amongst the team and not saving it for race day and that sort of stuff. And there's always a little bit of healthy smack talking amongst teammates and maybe even amongst like the distance runners to the throwers and that sort of stuff. Do you guys have that kind of banter going on? Are you able to train together and not get not keep the competition at bay so that you're ready for race day? How's that all working?
Of course. I think in any team, you get your different types of personalities and you gotta keep them in check. We have our smack talk that goes around straight through here. I won't say as much between events groups like
Hmm.
cross country with track with the sprinters or the throwers with the multis or no, nothing like that, but definitely in our specific training groups. We have four different training groups, our big training groups at least. We have the sprints, then we have the cross country, we have the multis, and then we have the throwers. So those is our four major training groups that we train in, and definitely within those, you get a couple of guys that get some smack talk going and that gets heated. Where definitely like some good competition is good sometime, but we remember at the end of the day we bring it all back to the focus of where it should be at. It's for the team, and no one is bigger than the program at the end of the day. Um, we do have our days when we really go at it, especially in the sprints group because I'm part of that. Sprints group grow a lot, especially on the men's side, and we got some guys that I mean we talking all Americans, we're talking national champions, and we're talking record holders in the NIA that joined our team this year. So I mean we have it all. And if you put all of those guys together, that's been racing against each other for the past 2 to 3 years, you're gonna get it regardless, day in and day out. It's just a matter of, are you willing to follow the mindset that they're putting out and the work ethic that they're putting out, or are you gonna take a back seat? And I choose to put myself up there with them. I won't shy away one time. I mean, I'll take you any day on the track, win or lose. I'll shake your hand afterwards. I'll go back and I'll work harder. I mean, that's how we do it.
Sounds like a new mic'd up session is in
We
the
could
should be
do
in the
that.
works.
That is, yeah. The only problem is I'm gonna have to be the filmer, so I don't know how I'm gonna produce
Tripods.
that. Tripods, yeah.
Drones. Eddie, you mentioned academics being important as well, because if you don't have academics, you can't perform, you can't compete on the track. What's your major? Is it social media minded?
So my one major is marketing, business administration and marketing. And then on the other side, I added a new major last year, exercise and sports science. So that's definitely one of my passions. Hence the USA Track and Field Level 1 certification I did. Very, very passionate about coaching. I grew up in a very professional coaching space back home, and I've just always had that in me. When it comes to programming on the track or in the weight room, there's so many different creative ways you can stimulate and train and strengthen the body in today's world. And I mean, there's endless resources online to be able to use. So that is one of my biggest passions is training. And one day, if I could take those two, the marketing and the exercise and sports science, and combine them, I would say that's when I hit money and I'm living the dream.
How does the coaching from back home compare to the coaching in the collegiate system?
That is an excellent question. Coaching back home, my coach back home, I owe everything to him. Just shout out to Coach Arnu Sneyman. He's absolutely like a second father to me. Just when I think of him, I get emotional because of what he did for me. And if he didn't train me and prepare me in the way I am right now, I wouldn't even be here in the US. Because he's the guy that strengthened me the way he strengthened me and made me run fast at the end of the day. Coaching back home is a lot more individualized. It's a lot more professional. It's we're a lot more detail orientated. And I would say one of my coach's philosophies from back at home is we train how do you train to train another day, but it's not how you work hard, or it's not how hard you work, it's how you work hard. So it's more of a smarter, not harder approach.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's a time and place where we work hard because we should work hard. But if we work hard in a smart way, we can achieve so much more and not injure the body. Coming into the collegiate system, I had to learn a lot because all of a sudden you're in a big group of people where we have to train a bunch of athletes, and your group is not so small and individualized training. So I had to learn a lot of different skills throughout the years, like, communicating effectively with the coach and with the team members. One other skill that I had to double down on was leadership, because coming from a professional coaching system back home, all of a sudden you come here and you know how to get out of the blocks. You know how to do certain drills. You know how to run at max speed and how to do certain compound lifts in the weight room. Some of these freshmen that come in from high school, they don't know all these things. So now you got to step into a leadership position, and sometimes the coach is busy, so he can't give them the attention. So now you got to step in and show them, like, hey, dude, are you willing to let me show you how to do it? This is how you do it. You take the bar here, and this is the movement you follow. So communication, leadership, a lot of patience, that I've had to learn coming into the collegiate system. Because as I mentioned, now you're working with so much more people, you're not the main attention anymore. There's so much other guys that's running with you that need attention too, and that also it's the coach's duty to coach them and take care of them. Um, Obviously, coming to the Cumberlands now and where we're at right now in more of a professional space, where some of these guys that we're training with right now, they've gone 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4. So they know the drills. They know how to get out of the blocks. They know the lifts in the weight room. So as you progress throughout the years, it gets easier, to be able to deal with certain situations at practice, because this guy knows what he's doing. This guy, he might need a bit of more help. So you show some grace and you show some patience, but it was definitely one of my big challenges, coming over to the collegiate system in the US and plugging into a training system here was a big, culture shock or adjustment, at least for me.
You mentioned that word communication. Sir, you are wise beyond your years because I didn't know what communication meant when it came to training when I was your age. And I'm curious with someone who is coach minded. You have your USA track and field level 1 coaching cert, and you just said, that's one of the majors that you are going to school for. How do you take coaching, and how do you know when to apply certain things that you want to do and listen to the coach when it's time to listen to the coach?
Yeah. Um, One thing that I always remember is to always stay in a student mindset. Because if I stay in a student mindset, I'm always capable to grow. But the moment I start getting big-headed and think I know it all is the moment you actually lose, because then you're stagnant. You're not growing nothing. The moment you're able to stay open-minded, stay student-minded, and be able to take a good criticism that's presented to you in the right way, um, you're able, like I mentioned, you're able to grow and be able to excel. So obviously in our training program and as we go on, there's a lot of stuff that I take from experience that I know from coming from back home that I take and I apply into my training. Like I know there's a certain way I like warming up. There's a certain way I like priming my body. There's certain lifts that I know work for me and certain lifts that don't work for me at all. I just make sure I communicate this with the coach effectively. And one of the things is I like to be very transparent with a coach, because if I can sit down and tell you like this, and this is the way we've been doing things, what do you think about this? How can we possibly integrate this into our training program? Are you up for it? Are you not up for it? Why? Why not? Um, so I think, as you mentioned, it all rises and falls on communication at the end of the day. But yeah, you have to stay open-minded in the system to be able to excel and to learn. Because as I mentioned, the moment you shut down your brain, you think you know it all, is the end of the day, you actually lost.
So I know you don't want to give away too much of your secret sauce, what you're gonna be debuting here come indoor, but in the year off, what have you added to your game, mindset wise, training wise, anything like that?
Yeah. Um, in my year off, I've learned so much. I went back and I do a lot of reflection. I do a lot of journaling, especially on my track season, because there's so much that goes into it physically, emotionally, spiritually. and then mentally at the end of the day. Because mentally, if you can't shut down your brain before you go down in that blocks, you're gonna miss that gun. Um, so I did a lot of reflection, and one thing that I definitely learned from last year is it was very, very fun to be able to look at the sport from an outsider's point of view. For once, I was not the person that had to be worried about my diet, like how long before the race am I eating, what am I eating, how late am I eating, the time I go to bed, and how I perform. Because I was the guy on the outside. I was the guy behind this side of the lens. I was taking the pictures. But one thing that I learned is that it's come conference, come nationals, come any normal sized meet. Um, Pressure is pressure all around. And I think one thing that I definitely added to my training resume is just to be able to process pressure better and easier. Because at the end of the day, you're either prepared for it or you're not prepared for it. And all the work gets done here at home. I just told our new coach, sprints coach, Coach D White, Coach Derek White. He came from Multnomah University, and I told him yesterday, listen, Coach, here at our home track, that's where demons get fought. That's where we deal with problems, because there we die there on a daily. That's one of the biggest reasons I still believe in Jesus, because I get to raise up from the dead every single day after I get off of that track. But you know what? When we go out and we get on that bus and we travel or we fly and we go compete, that's where you get a time where it's fun. You have fun, you show off, you perform, you put a smile on your face, and you relax, bro. Because you already did all the work here. You have all the puzzle pieces you needed. So going into this year, I'm so much more at peace with myself. I know who I am. I know who my identity is. I don't put my identity in the sport because once in my life there was a moment where you put identity in your sport. But this comes back to faith that I know my identity is in Jesus at the end of the day. Um, so yeah, at the end of the day, that is one of the biggest things that I feel like I added to my, to my weaponry is just the peace I have around it and how to process peace. Because being at these track meets, I observe a lot of these guys and even a lot of the D1 guys. I mean, we see Texas compete and we see Louisville compete and we see Kentucky compete. We see all these big guys compete at some of the meets. And I look at them and I look at their times and I'm in my mind, I think by myself, like, bro, like you can run with these guys. You're in the mix. If you can just control the mental behind it, you're fine. So there's nothing to worry about. They like go out and have fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, Eddie, we just talked to one of my clients who just finished a Leadville 100, and we were kind of talking about how she had her best time, but she also didn't have any expectations going into it. And that's kind of that freedom of you put in the work, you're confident in everything you've done, so you don't necessarily have to have the expectation or the build up to create that anxiety and that pressure. Is just like you believe in yourself, you believe in your faith, you put in the work, everything's going to work out, and that there's a freedom that comes with that when you're competing.
Oh yeah,
When you don't have those self-imposed expectations, and you just are confident that you've done the work, and worked harder and worked smarter than the other seven people on the starting line with you.
there you go. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and especially now this year, talking about, the amount of new guys we have on the team and just their accolades. I know that if I can go down on the line with these guys in training and not feel pressure, I don't have no reason to feel pressure at any one of the other meets. So if I can run with them, I can truly run with some of the best in the country. Yeah.
Eddie, you mentioned your spiritual belief and you have a podcast called Bros Gone Bible. I'm curious as a college athlete, how you keep the faith, how you have such a powerful faith being on a college campus and all the vices that a
Temptations.
college, yeah, temptations that a college campus could offer.
That is so true. So my faith journey started back in 2019, back in South Africa, where I mean, grew up being a cultural Christian my whole life, not really living it out or having a relationship with Jesus, but got baptized in 2019, the year I finished high school, on the 17th of May to be exact. And it my whole life changed from there. Where obviously you struggle with a lot of things, and coming to the US, now the temptations are even bigger because you've seen all these, like I mentioned, it's like in the movies, bro. You get all these like these frat houses and people throwing parties and stuff like that. But I think the Lord had a plan in terms of placing me in very rural areas with very small colleges. I mean, the colleges that I've been to, neither of them, I mean, we're probably looking at a total capacity of people of like not even 5,000 people if we're really wanting to be honest here. Um, we don't really have anything like frat houses or big parties or stuff like that, but definitely you get your temptations because there are a lot of people here that they get bored, and then you only get there's one thing to do. You start partying, you start drinking, you start getting into a bunch of things that you don't want to get into, and this affects you on so many other levels. Um, but luckily for me, to be honest with you guys, I can be blunt honest on here. I started I got exposed to a lot of these things from a very, very young age in South Africa. So at the age of 13, 14, had the opportunity to go to a club and go drinking and got exposed to a bunch of things from a very, very young age. So, and indulged in them from a very, very young age until I was 18, 19. And right now, where I look back on my journey and I've directly seen what these things do to me, um, I can logically think by myself, like, listen, there's no return on investment here. These things really don't help me. I've only felt bad after drinking until 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. I've only felt bad smoking weed until this time in the morning or whatever. Like, there's no benefit for you. And at the end of the day, where when I met Jesus, that's where my whole life changed. And I came to the US, the first thing that I looked for was my church and somewhere to be plugged in where I can have a community of people that, can hold me accountable to a certain standard. That really helps you too. So being at this university, yes, you get your people that go off and they go their own route and they get bored, and you get a few parties here and there. Definitely not gonna lie to you. Haven't been to one though, to be honest. But I know what this does to you, and I know what my goals are because if I think by myself and I put myself back in my head at a 19 years old position, back in South Africa, not having finances of somewhere to study, and I look at where I am now, 4 years later, almost finishing a double major, running track, being fully funded, not being able to pay a cent for my studies, I cannot mess this up. Some people look at me and they think they ask me like, bro, why are you always so serious? Because I come across very serious sometimes. Then I look at them and I tell them, do you know what's online for me? I get sent back home if I don't run the times I run. I can get sent back home. I can lose my scholarship if I don't perform, if I don't pass my class, if I fail a class, if I get drunk and I do something stupid that I'm not supposed to do on a weekend. I don't want to go back home. This is my dream, bro. I'm living the dream now. Why would I give this up? Therefore, I put the standard pretty high for myself, and I have the opportunity to be able to know Jesus and walk a path with him so he can give me wisdom while I'm doing this and actioning it out. Because there's so much on the line to me. And through the way I live out my life, that's my testimony to other people to introduce them to the faith. Because in this program, there's something that we've said in this program is that we can win as many championships as we want to. But if we don't win any souls, it doesn't mean anything, bro. There's been multiple people in this program that has come to faith because of what we do in this team and how certain people live their life. Obviously, you have a couple of, rough people here and there that they tread on the line a bit. But we're graceful and merciful to them and we help them out when the time gets there. But there's multiple people international people that has never heard the gospel, that has given their lives to Jesus Christ and got baptized through this program. And that's one of the biggest achievements we can ever get besides winning national championships or whatever.
There's your timestamp for your clip.
Yeah,
There you go.
amen.
Amen is
Yeah.
right.
Eddie, I'm curious, was there any culture shock as far as churches? You're in the Bible Belt and being in Kentucky where, some fire and brimstone churches, some healers, stuff like that. Was there any bit of a culture shock going to finding a church that you like?
The not finding a church, but I've heard a lot of stories. Let's just say it like that. Back home, I come from a church called Unite 180. It's taken off in South Africa right now. It's seen as a mega church right now. Back home, when I joined them, they were not a mega church yet, but right now we're in a capacity of over 10,000 people back home in South Africa, especially with the youth, which is a big deal. And it's a non-denominational Pentecostal church, or non-denominational church with Pentecostal values. Let me rather say it like that. Because here, when I say Pentecostal, people think passing snakes and stuff like that. Is one thing that I've noticed. And we're very, very charismatic, you know. So we call ourselves happy clappies. We're very happy clappy. We're not afraid to jump up and down and praise the Lord. I believe in, the gifts of the Holy Spirit and praying in tongues and prophecy and all this type of stuff. And when I came to Kentucky, it's a lot more conservative, you know. So the Lord has been good to me. First off, when I was at Lindsey Wilson, I joined a church called Three Trees Church, which was a multi-location church, three locations, and absolute amazing church. It was the first church I went to, and it was a church I stayed with for 2 years. The Lord has just been very, very gracious to me in terms of leading me to the right people for guidance and to hold me accountable and to plug me into the right community. I'm very bad on finding mentors in my life because there's this quote that says, smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes." So if I can go out to people and learn from their mistakes, I'm gonna end up making a lot of mistakes myself, and it's gonna cost me a lot. So I'd rather learn from older people that's been through a lot in their life, you know? So Three Trees Church, joined them for 2 years. Absolute amazing community church. Also non-denominational church, also quite charismatic for Kentucky, I would say. But just amazing the people I met there. I would still consider them family, and I'm still in contact with my mentors from Three Trees Church. When I came here, I'm currently plugged into a Baptist church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, here down in Williamsburg, Kentucky. Also multi-sided church. We have three different locations where I did one of my internships this past summer with them, a 6-week internship where we went on a mission trip to Spain, came back, we did a youth camp up in Missouri, and it's just been amazing, you know. At the end of the day, it's where the body of believers come together, and if we can look at the Bible as the ultimate truth, and we can agree on a lot of stuff and just exchange grace and mercy to each other, and you love on each other, I don't think a lot of stuff can go wrong, bro. But there was definitely, to come back to your question, when I stepped into Kentucky, there's some stuff that I heard that shocked me. And I thought to myself, no way. There's no way this is true.
I'll tell you what, there must be something in the water in Williamsburg because y'all down there get me fired up when we talk to you.
For real.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate
Y'all
it
get
so
me
much.
fired up. And I guess that would, I got a couple other questions, small little ones, but
You could throw
um,
away.
y- the big thing with Coach Souter and with Chris Craftick was loving the logo.
There you go.
And you speak very passionately about the team and the program and the school and the culture. You've also mentioned that you have a passion in coaching and helping others and being a leader. Um, so maybe let's do a little role play here. And you are now a coach in the collegiate system. And here is your time to shine as giving us your recruiting pitch to to the Cumberlands.
To be able to come, so I'm recruiting an athlete
Yeah,
that's coming to the
I'm a star
Cumberlands.
10K runner steeplechaser, and you're at my table, and we're having dinner, and you're trying to get me to come.
Okay, so the first thing I want to ask you is why would you want to come to America? Would you want to come to the US?
Absolutely.
Why would you want to come to the US?
It's a great big world and there's a lot to see out there. And I'm young and I know I can always come back to home. Home is always going to be there, but I want to go see and explore and be a part of what you have going on and the passion and the energy that is brewing at the university in Williamsburg.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that and I can definitely relate with you because I've also been in that position where, I wanted to travel the world. And a lot of times you think for yourself, what if I go to a big university and, sometimes you get lost in the system. A lot of people just think you're a number. But here at University of Cumberland, I can promise you, we're definitely not just another number. You're going to be someone that's taken care of. You're going to be someone that is plugged into community. You're going to be someone that is loved on and taught and be handled with grace and mercy at the end of the day. We don't look at people as numbers. We look at people as for who they are and for what they have to embody them. At this program, we love on each other. We have three values that we stand on and that the team stands on. I'm looking for a place where I could read them off right now, but we're
He's
student
cheating.
we're student focused. We're measured by winning, and Coach Souter always has them on his tongue, bro. There's this third one that I always forget, but it's just an amazing place all around where we take care of each other, and you're definitely around a bunch of pros, um, out in the track. So I don't know, bro. I'm not a salesman at the end of the track. I'm a track.
But
Eddie,
you were
you had
killing it.
me.
You were
You
killing
had
it.
me,
You had
man.
me.
You
Oh,
had me ready to go see if I had
uh,
eligibility. Get
I'll
the
I'll just
get,
I'll just make the hype video. Someone else can do the sales, bro.
No, you were good. You were good.
Uh,
but kind of to that same point, though. Like Rich said, it's contagious when we talk to you guys from the Cumberlands. What is the culture like with the other sports? Is there camaraderie across all the sports? Are you going to football games? Are you going to different sports? Going to the basketball games, supporting each other?
Have you been to
yeah.
a wrestling match yet?
I have been to a wrestling match. I went to my first wrestling match last year, and to be honest with you, Rich, loved it, bro. I'm a big combat sports guy, so I always tell people if I was not a track athlete, I would either be a boxer or I would be like a CrossFit athlete because I just love like training and the feeling of death after training every single time. Um, Big combat sports guy, and when I went to a wrestling match last year, the women's and the men's. I thought it's the most cool thing ever. They have this light shining from the top down,
Hmm.
as Craftic mentioned, and they just throw it at each other in there for the next, I don't know how many minutes, but it's awesome. But yeah, Jimmy, we love going out to each other's matches here. There's big sports camaraderie amongst the teams, definitely. We all support each other all across the board. In terms of, showing up for each other's games. At away games, it's very, very hard because the team travels, of course. But at every single home game, there will definitely be attendance and somewhat of a crowd supporting the team. We love going out for the football matches, the football games. Football just kicked off last week, two weekends ago was their first home game, and we had a big turnout where the students hang out behind the touchdown area.
End
What do you
zone.
call end zone? There you go. I don't play football. I play
Mhm.
rugby. Real men play rugby. Um,
Throw ball.
so they hang out behind the end zone, and we got a couple of cornhole boards set out there, so the kids go hang out there. There's a smell of barbecue in there. So I mean, it's an awesome atmosphere to be at. We love the soccer. Our women's soccer is national champions, so of course it's also always a pleasure to watch them play. They're actually playing as we speak right now against a certain university, but I'm pretty sure they're taking the W home tonight. Men's soccer played this past weekend where there was a big turnout. Volleyball is awesome to go and watch all across the board. We support each other, and it's really something that, we foster our relationships amongst the team, the different teams very, very well. I could definitely name, someone that I'm friends with in every single different sport on this campus. Yeah, it's awesome.
You mentioned you might do some boxing or maybe some CrossFit. Have you done your fair share of CrossFit workouts?
Actually, not yet. Really
Okay.
not. I've done some sparring on the pads with one of
Hmm.
my trainers back home, which is very, very fun and I mean super exhausting. It's a different type of fitness. Because I'm used to running with my legs. Here you
Yeah.
work with the upper body, so it's a different type of fitness. CrossFit, I'm yet to try it out. I just haven't had time. I mean, I prioritize track year in, year out.
Hmm.
So whether I'm even out of season, I'll make sure I prioritize track and I make sure I just stay fit to a certain degree, There is a time and place where you have to take some off time just to give the body and the nervous system a rest period.
Hmm.
Um, but no, have not tried out CrossFit. I would love to.
Okay.
Have you?
Yes, yes. Jimmy and I are both CrossFit coaches and have dabbled in and out of the CrossFit world since
Okay.
about 2009, 2010.
Okay, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
So you're a Rich Froning fan or more like Matt Fraser or like where do you guys fall at?
Um, I mean, I guess being in it as
We
long as we
respect
have,
them all.
I respect them all. I like what they do. I I do a lot of Rich Froning's programming from
Awesome.
Mayhem, either with at the gym I go to now or with the high school students that I teach physical education to.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rich. I know he lives down here in Jacksonville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my buddies actually went out last year to watch him speak at some kind of conference, and he said he met this guy, and I freaked out. I was like, bro, like, why didn't you tell me? I would have driven there with you. I would have wanted to meet this guy because I mean I've been watching him since I've been um in South Africa. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, I do my fair share of research as well, but Rich has this massive tattoo running
Hmm.
down the side of his body, Galatians 6:14.
Yeah.
And I actually have Galatians 6:14 as well tatted on the side of my
Cool.
body, just in a different style, in a different font. But the inspiration came from him. And it actually says, may I never boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, through which he has been crucified to me and I to the world. And it's just a reminder for me to, always stay humble in my life because it says, may I never boast except for in Jesus that died for me on the cross. Um, so I know my desires and my goals and ambitions is big, and one day, if I potentially, by the will of God, makes it big, it's a reminder for me to always stay humble and to keep my head on the ground.
Well, you've got two guys down south that are cheering and supporting you now, so
Awesome.
you got two more fans for sure.
Eddie, one more question I have for you if Rich doesn't have anything before we get into the final four. What was the biggest culture shock for you when you came to the United States? And what did South Africa not provide you or not have that you found in the United States that you absolutely can't live without anymore?
Ooh, that is a brilliant question. Um, I think anything an international student would tell you is one of the biggest culture shock is food, bro. And this shouldn't come surprising to you guys. The US and food is enormous, in terms of just different styles of food, how there's a lot of food that gets fried, fast food, all this type of stuff, where in international countries, Africa specifically, or Europe, a lot more pure form of food and cleaner form of food is produced and sold in grocery stores or supermarkets or whatever you want to call it. So food was a big culture shock to me, and I had to adjust around it, and I had to teach and like kind of teach my body, how to use different types of food because I'm quite a health freak too. I'm very selected with what I eat and what I put in my body because if I'm an athlete and I really want to be a top tier athlete, I got to take care of myself, you know, all around in terms of, eating, sleeping, training, recovery, all these different forms. Then I think one of the other things that really shocked me from the US is like the communication style and how let me tell you guys the story. I first arrived at Lindsay Wilson. The first 2 days, in South Africa, we're very friendly, you know. So we would go up to someone, if you see them, you'd like, hey, or like, just like give them a head nod or whatever. And for the first 2 days, when I said hey to someone, they completely ignored me. And I got irritated so much by it by the second day. I was like, these people are so disrespectful. They don't even greet you when you walk by past them. Like they're not interested. But I guess that was probably just me striking unlucky the first day that I ever arrived. Now come around on here at Cumberland's. I mean, I can't walk a block on campus without someone waving to me or hey or whatever, or greeting me in return, which I really do appreciate. But it was the communication style. And one thing back home that's very dear to my heart, and one thing that I appreciate is we would greet each other every single day, even if we see each other every single day. So let me give you an example. My mom would live in my house, but every morning I wake up, I would give her a hug and tell her, "Hey, mom, how are you?" People here don't ask, "How are you?" They're really not interested. I think it's a fast-paced living that the US is used to, and just like, okay, yeah, you're here, let's go through it, you know. It was taught to me from a very young age. Even if you text someone and you text someone, you would text them first, hey or hello, and then you would ask them, how are you? You won't directly get into a conversation. Here, like they could really not care less. Like we would you guys just go for it. So at first off, I started seeing it as disrespect, but as I adapted to the culture, I realized, okay, they're not disrespectful. This is just their culture, and I adapted to it over time. And I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's the fast-paced reality is can be beneficial. I think the only thing we should be careful for is to not forget what a big opportunity and how grateful we should be to be able to be in each other's presence on the daily. Because especially with all these things and violences and crime going on in today's world, especially in the US, you can lose someone like this. Life isn't promised tomorrow. And I think life is a lot more valued in South Africa in terms of that. Like we care for each other on a daily. Hey, how are you? Here they just want to go, 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 go. But if you wake up the one day and they're not there, I mean, when's the last time you asked them, how are you? Or hey, I appreciate you. Or hey, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm gonna have to need you to repeat the second part of that question. I completely forgot.
Is there anything like food wise or maybe lifestyle wise that you didn't have in South Africa that you can't live without?
Yeah, one thing, hmm. I think just the resources that the US provides in general is amazing. Coming to the US, I've never ran an indoor track. We don't have indoor tracks in South Africa. So when I first time I stepped foot in indoor track, and I mean the first time was at the Louisville Healthcare Center. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it is a state-of-the-art facility. Beautiful, brand new. Like you can smell like the Mondo. If you walk on
Hmm.
a track and it still has that smell. Oh, bro, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like and I walk in there, I am in in my dreams. I'm living the dream. And I was so happy. I was ecstatic. So that is definitely one of the things, like the resources that's provided for us here is amazing, unfathomable stuff that we don't have back home. I'm talking about I'm just looking right here. We have a pair of recovery boots laying on the couch. They're expensive. In South Africa, your normal athlete won't be able to afford them. We have 3 pairs here just for our track team. No one else uses it, just our track team. We're talking about a weight room with 11 racks. Pick one. You lift, bro. Indoor facilities where well, we don't have indoor facilities, but where we go to race, where we run it, it's very, very small things that I think Americans they take for granted. But as soon as you take it away, you start realizing by yourself that hey, I'm missing something. And actually, when I got I've gone home this past summer for the first time in 2 years, which was absolutely amazing for me. But I know when I go home, I can't go home for longer than a month and a half. I kind of get irritated because South Africa is home, yes, but I mean, I live. This is actually home. I would say South Africa is where I come from now. This is home because this is where I do life now. I eat here, I sleep here, I study here, I work here, I train here. This is home. Um, so every time I go back to South Africa, like I'm I'm living with my mom. I cook for myself again, which I don't have any problem doing. It's just there's so much efficiency and there's so much the systems that are created here in the US is it's set up for success. You cannot fail. You cannot fail. You should be lazy if you fail in these systems. The society is set up in such a way where anyone can make a success. If you just have the ethic of working hard, you can make a success for yourself in this company, in this country. That's one of the other bigger reasons that I came to the US is the opportunity that's created. And if you have the ethics and moral standards of working hard, you can make it. You can 100% make it. No one can tell you can't.
Eddie, I appreciate the reminder as someone who
Hmm.
was born and raised in the United States. And then this summer, I was blessed with the opportunity to travel for work, and I got to experience Europe and then coming back and just the reminder of the opportunities that we have. Also, I can agree with you being over in Europe with a big group. I was like, wow, Americans are really loud and obnoxious and pushy and kind of like, oh, you need to have more gratitude. You need to be polite. And yeah, there's a reason why everyone's looking at you like that because you guys are loud and obnoxious. So I appreciate the perspective, but I also appreciate the reminder to remember what we have and, regardless of political who you think should be the president or not, we have a lot of opportunities in this country that people other places in the world don't have.
Oh, so much, bro. So much. And I'm not hating on anyone. America, it's an amazing country. I had the opportunity to spend my first 4th of July here this past year. And I mean I probably experienced the most American thing ever was I was frying a hot dog or over a piece of fire, a bonfire with the fireworks going in the background over a lake. Probably the most American experience in my life, you know, but I mean, I'm so thankful to be able to, you know, just have the opportunity to be in this country, to be able to work in this country under my school, to be able to study in this country, to be able to run in this country and share it, you know, with such amazing people. It's just that one thing, as you said, like the gratitude you should be able to have, to be able to just be born in this country is, oh, it's so important to remember that, bro. Yeah.
Need you to come speak to my high school students. Eddie, I'm curious, and I do appreciate all that as well too. I want you to know that. And Jimmy and I get frustrated by Americans that don't say good morning and things like that. So you're not alone in that regard either. And we were born and raised here. I'm curious. You mentioned you went back to South Africa for the first time in 2 years. On the flip side of, you know, what we have here in America, what's one thing that you were looking forward to, maybe food wise, when you went home?
Oh, that's easy, bro. We call it, you guys call it barbecue, we call it braai. Or braai. The biggest difference between a barbecue and a braai is a lot of times you guys do it over gas, we do it over wood, and we have very, very good meat in South Africa because we have a lot of wildlife. So just being able to eat some really good meat that I know is not processed and that
Hmm.
comes from this deer or this antelope that we just hunted 2 hours up the road is absolutely phenomenal. And then one of my favorite things back home is biltong in Droevoort, which is like you guys know it as like beef jerky,
Hmm.
but it's definitely not beef jerky. It's like if you take a piece of meat fillet, and you take like you get different ones. You can get wild or you can just get normal beef. So let's say you take a piece of normal beef like fillet and you spice it and you dry it up and you hang it up for like weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks. It dries out and becomes a really nice, tasty piece of meat. And what we do is we carve them up in little pieces, and it's like a table snack for when guests come over or stuff like that. You put it out and you eat it. It's absolutely amazing. Nice little snack, not too filling, and also very, very high in protein since it comes from, since it's meat. So yeah, that's one of my ultimate favorite things from back home. So the first thing when I got back home, the day after I arrived, my grandma took me and she went and she bought me biltong and druiven.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
And I know you're a man of faith, but I'm curious to ask some of the other guys from Wingate who are from Europe. Does the accent help with the ladies on campus?
Oh, 100%. That's all they listen to, bro. A lot of people they taunt me on the way I say spirit, because you guys would say spirit.
Hmm.
Um I say spirit, the Holy Spirit. And it's something that I picked up from my pastor back home. That preaches, because when he preaches, he also says that in that specific way. But the accent 100% helps. I mean, all over wherever you go, and people realize very, very quick that you're not from the US. Sometimes coming here, I had to learn how to put the twang on my words, because if I didn't put the twang on, people constantly just said, huh? Huh? And that's one of the other things from Americans. Like, they don't ask, excuse me, or pardon me, or can you repeat that? They, huh? What? Huh? I want to
Do
lose
what?
I want to lose my head when someone says, huh? Like, it drives me crazy, bro. So I had to learn to put a bit of the twang on there, because back home we learn UK British English. So my sentence structure and some
Hmm.
spelling stuff is a bit different. But coming to the US, that was something that I had to adjust to.
Right on.
Ready for the final four, Rich?
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
All
let's
right.
go.
Eddie, are you a coffee drinker?
100%, bro. Almost more than Coach Sauter, I would say. I mean, he drinks a lot of coffee, but he drinks like 2 to 3 shots. I mean, we have a coffee machine in our room, and I could probably go 5 to 6 cups a day.
So, how do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
We brew it with like normal. It's a dripper,
Hmm.
so you put the grain in there, and I drink it with like a bit of almond milk. Not normal whole milk. I feel like almond milk metabolizes better for me and it's not so heavy. I like to drink coffee right before I practice. It's like a quick little pre-workout. Depends on what I eat and how I feel. Sometimes I'll even drink it black. I don't care. I'm very low maintenance. I'm not a Starbucks 3-shot vanilla kind of guy like Coach Sauter.
Do
And
you have
I'll say that to him. He's so American for that. Is the Starbucks 3 shots vanilla? And I don't even. I'm like, just give me a cappuccino. I don't care, bro. I just need coffee. Bring.
do you have a almond milk of choice or any kind you can get your hands on?
Any almond milk. Usually I like it sometimes if the vanilla sweetened flavor is available, that's very nice. But I'm not worried about minor things. I like coffee, bro. As long as I get coffee, I'm happy.
All right. I hear you. I'm right there with you. Eddie, we touched on this a bit throughout the podcast, and I'm sure this is part of it. But do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of yourself?
100%. One of the things, of course, is reading the Bible and reading the Word. It's one of the things that I try to do every single day. Obviously, we fall short of that sometimes, because once I get going and once I step foot out of the door and I haven't touched my Bible, to be honest with you, I know I'm not going to get to it that day. But I try to get in front of my Bible on the daily, read a chapter or two if I get time, and even journal about it. That helps me to reflect on how Jesus lived his life, and I ought to live holy like he lived holy. But I will never make that mark. But try to love on everyone that I go through daily like he did. Other than that, um. I like to eat a certain time before my practice. I know if I eat past a certain time, I will not be ready for practice. I like to eat at least 2 hours before I go out for practice. Other than that, I'm quite a biohack kind of guy. So there's multiple things that I do in terms of that. When I work late at night, I'll listen to binaural beats music. That helps me be quite productive. I like to put the red LED lights on and I turn all other lights off because red is the lowest color on the color spectrum and it also helps with melatonin production. Then I do wear blue light glasses before I go to bed. At 10 p.m., when 10 p.m. hits, all other lights go off. The red LED lights go on, and my blue glasses go on, so I can sit and work, even edit if I have to edit. Um, and then I lo like to obviously sleep in a colder room temperature because your body cools off naturally as you go to bed, and that's the best circumstances to sleep in. Other than that, I don't. I like to take melatonin some nights if I know, because I'm quite a night owl. I don't have to be asked not nicely to, go sleep late. Like I can push 2, 3, 4 a.m. very, very easy. Um, so if I don't get in bed before 12, I know I'm gonna struggle to wake up the next morning. So I try to get in bed before 12, and if I'm in bed before 12, I'm out usually up and running at around 8:30-ish. As an athlete, you want to get in your sleep. So yeah, that is
Yeah.
some of my practices and some of my rituals that I try to do to be able to perform and show up as my best every day.
Well, we get down with all that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we dig all that stuff. We could get into another rabbit hole,
Oh
but we
yeah,
just
I see you guys nodding their head. You're like, yeah, red LED lights, yeah, binaural beats, yeah.
got my blue blockers on and
There you go. I love
could
that.
go down another rabbit hole, but we will spare you. So, Eddie, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
So, reading, as I mentioned, the Bible. I try to read some other books outside of the Bible just to keep my interest and to keep my knowledge flowing. One thing that I really want to get into in reading right now is like unapologetic apologetics. It's written by Voddie Baucham. It's a very, very good preacher. Um, and this is basically a book that he wrote on how to defend the Christian faith, how to address certain sensitive topics that, people are afraid to address in today's world. For example, let's say the LGBTQ community. If you bring the LGBTQ community and faith to the same table, there's going to be some conflict. But if we go to the book of the Bible and we know how to explain that, it becomes quite a clear and honest conversation. Other than that, music that I'm listening to, I listen to a lot of gospel music. That's something that I'm not afraid to listen to, and I listen to it every single day. Especially when I wake up in the morning, when I want to go to bed at night, or just tune it down. Listen to a lot of gospel music before practice. I like to put on some country music. As I mentioned, I got into some country, some Afro beats, some Amapiano, since I'm from South Africa, that keeps me on my toes. And then every now and then, if I really miss home, I would listen to some traditional Afrikaans music, um, which gets me fired up every single time. I would even sometimes even warm up on that type of music, to be honest. Podcast wise, I'm a big podcast guy since I have my own podcast. I keep up to date with you guys' podcast every now and then. If I see an interesting guest on there, I'd listen to a few minutes of it. Another podcast that I'm a big fan of is Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. You guys would know it. It's probably one of the most famous podcasts in the world right now. Um, what else am I listening to? I listen to a lot of from my churches back home, from sermons from my pastor. If I missed some of that, hmm. I listen to the George Janko show. You guys know about George
Mhm.
Janko, also a big faith content creator. He was with Logan Paul and then got kicked off of his podcast. So I listened to a lot of some of his stuff. He has some very interesting guests on. Um, I wouldn't say massive, but I'm quite an Andrew Tate type of fan. So some Andrew Tate type of content, whatever comes in, I don't agree with everything that he says. Let's just clarify that. But I think he has a great attitude for masculinity and how to talk, how to present, how to argue with certain people, and it's just absolutely brilliant in that. Other than that, I mean, the list can go endlessly on, but that's probably the majority of what I spend my time on.
Awesome. Well, Eddie, it's funny we have this conversation with you, and I've lately since summertime I've been on quite an Afro house kick.
Okay.
So I've been a lot of South African DJs have been coming across my palette as of
That's
late.
awesome.
And that one I sent you the other day, Jimmy, was that one that was in France. That was a South African DJ. So
Yeah.
it's my current go-to. I do love country down here in the South, but yeah, I've been rocking and fist bumping to some good Afro house lately.
There you go. Yeah, after a house, you can never go wrong.
No. Eddie, last one we have for you. Do you have a guilty pleasure? Could be food, could be music.
I would say one thing that I find myself snacking on constantly is, and I think this would probably be Coach Sauter's was too, is Oreos. I can't remember if this was his or not, but if we have a pack of Oreos in our food cabinet, oh, it's it's over with. It's going down every time. Usually I try to stay away from the sweet things. Every now and then in the cafeteria, I'll grab some yogurt and some fruit as a dessert, which is actually kind of nice. But between Oreos and I would add chocolate to that list. Ah, love it, bro. I don't as much as I try to take care of my body in every single aspect, I'm a guy also that believes in, balance to a big way. And I don't starve my body to a certain point where um if I eat this, I'm gonna die now. Like if I'm craving for a piece of chocolate or Oreos, I'm gonna eat chocolate or Oreos. You're not gonna die. Just relax. In actual fact, sometimes it's good for your body just to get a little bit of refeed, get the sugar spike and get it out of the system for the next 3 weeks you're clean. Um, I don't taunt myself like that or make myself go through hell like that. I just choose to get it over and done with, drink a bottle of water after it because it cancels out, and after that I'm fine.
Yeah, and have gratitude for those Oreos, you know?
There you go. That's the right attitude, Rich.
That's it. Otherwise, you beat yourself up too much.
Yeah.
Eddie, this was a great conversation, sir. We really appreciate your time and really appreciate the insight that you gave us tonight. And I know Rich and I are gonna get off this podcast and like, bro, do we need to move down by the Cumberlands? Because you guys get us on fire.
You guys
We
gotta
love
come visit, bro. Maybe come down
definitely,
for outdoor conference or something. Like, I mean, it's up for discussion, definitely.
definitely,
When's the
definitely.
first indoor meet, Eddie?
First indoor meet, I think, would probably be first week of December.
All right.
First week of December. We have one race, and then we have winter break. So we're off for about 2.5, 3 weeks to the max, where we come back right after New Year's. And as we come back that first weekend, we have our first indoor meet or second indoor meet. So this first indoor meet, the first one of December, we use just to check like a baseline, where we
Mhm.
at, how we doing in training, can you execute? I mean, the race is training in itself. We're not
Sure.
really going out to compete. And from there on forward, we try to build off of every single meet we get.
All right. Well, we'll be looking for the results and keeping dialed in with you guys. And
Appreciate it.
we are proud fans. I wear my attitude and effort shirt to the gym with pride all the time.
There you go. Love to hear that. Yeah, we'll keep you guys in the loop.
All right, Eddie. Have a great night. Good luck with the rest of the semester.
Thank you, gentlemen. Same to you guys. May God
Yeah.
bless you.